was here 2 weeks ago, I believe, to present this, and just to kind of refresh the Commission's memory, this is, you guys know the Mill Pond Townhomes, I'm sure, but this is specific to unit number 12, which is off of Harkaway Road there. There's some flooding issues behind that unit. It's a walkout basement. The unit itself is next to a slope, and water's running down there. It seems to be coming from a variety of places, just from overland, but there's also a pipe at the top of the hill that is discharging and coming down, and then once you get behind the unit, it's very flat as well. So water just kind of sits, and it seems like it could benefit from some regrading. So we've taken some steps to provide some solutions. We're trying to hold some water back a little bit, try and promote some infiltration, and then also direct it further away from the unit, away from the back of the unit there, through a catch basin and a flared end section, and then again that regrading. So when I left 2 weeks ago, I think it seemed that the Commission was generally in favor of this, but there was a question about the pipe that was coming out of the hill. That seemed to be the main question. So we had Ruderman come out and video inspect that line, and it was actually interesting. The guy came out and actually, I think his question was, do you want me to camera inspect it, or do you just want to know where it goes? Because he had been there before and actually had firsthand knowledge of that pipe and that system. So either way, he put the camera in. We submitted those results. It's actually in the letter that was submitted. There's some screenshots there from the video itself. But the camera went in, and we got in pretty far, and it seemed very clear that as you make your way behind the adjacent units, which are 13 through 21, which is uphill, and if you're looking at the plan to the right of that plan, up off that direction, there's 13 through 21's up there, and those all have patios in the back. There's some gutter systems and downspouts that appear to tie in directly to that pipe. So there's some area drains in the patios that have direct connections. There's some gutters that have direct connections, and those are contributing water to that pipe, which ultimately come out the side of the hill and down the slope and to the back of Unit 12. So it's pretty clear that water is storm water. That confirms the notion that pipe flows when it rains, or situations like this when snow melts and winds up in the gutters and in the patios and things like that. So there's no signs of sewer connections. There's no smell. There's nothing like that. It's storm water that's coming out of there and making its way down the hill. I'm happy to answer any other questions. There's a figure here, looks like it's up on the screen too, that was submitted, kind of showing the general location of that. I mean, there's a kind of sporadic locations of these drains and gutters, and it wasn't all the gutters, there was some of them, but tried to give a general sense of where that pipe was and how the water makes its way over to that slope there.
Thank you. Al?
So the only thing, the reason I was the one that actually asked you to do this, and my concern, and I think you've answered it, I just want the record to be real clear, that this is not any type of I&I source. This is strictly runoff that has been directed into the pipe through a variety of sources, not an I&I situation.
Correct, yeah, all storm water, whether from roofs or from paver stone patios there. Yep,
Okay.
yep.
All set, Mr. Chairman.
Yep, all set. All set. Motion?
What is it?
Determination 2 for the work in the riverfront, and a negative determination 3 for the work in the buffer zone with special conditions for erosion control.
I'll move exactly as you have it written.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Net unanimous. Thank you,
Great,
all set.
thank you very much.
Next order of business is 131 Cotuit Street.
Fellow from 131 Cotuit Street, and my wife and I would like to put an addition on the dining room on the second floor. And I think you have a copy of the plans. I have the notices. Did you need the?
Yes, please.
The ad or just a copy of it?
Just the notice.
And so as per the plan, we need to put 2 supports which would fall within the 100-foot buffer zone. And it entails just putting 2 supports in the ground approximately 4 feet down. And the contractor plans to have them placed by a rubber-tracked small bobcat, and he plans to dig the holes by hand. I don't know if I can answer any questions.
All right, thank you. Al, do you have any questions?
Actually, I don't have any questions. The explanation in your plans is complete, I think.
What was the, it says here, let me find the right one. You're putting the dirt on the top? What dirt?
Well, I thought the easiest thing would be as they dig the holes was to just completely contain the dirt on the top and just cover it while they dig in the hole and then put it back in the hole.
This is just for the sonotubes?
Yeah, 2 tubes, exactly. Actually, he's doing I don't know what they call it, the difference, he's doing these kind of supports instead of sonic tubes.
Okay. All right, if you're gonna do it that way, it doesn't matter to me, because there's not gonna be a hell of a lot of dirt.
No.
Yeah. Okay, I have no questions.
All set.
Motion?
I recommend a negative, number 3 determination with post-construction inspection.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
All set. Next one is 121 Abbott Street.
Hi, I'm Angie Allen with Downer Brothers Landscaping. I'm the landscape designer and environmental planning manager with them. And Chris Cellini, who is the property owner at 121 Abbott Street, is with me as well. We have a project before you to do a backyard landscape improvement project, and we're requesting a negative determination of applicability for the Wetlands Protection Act. The Cellinis are looking to remove the existing deck, replace it with a smaller deck. All the footings will remain outside the 50-foot no-build line. There is a proposed new patio that's also outside the 50-foot build line. It will be a natural limestone set on a fully permeable base. It will also have a retaining wall to allow, there's some grade change there to allow for a flat grade with a planting bed behind. Within the 25 to 50-foot buffer, there is, we are proposing to reconfigure the existing landscape walls into 2 landscape walls that would be dry laid on the existing grade, and to increase the physical barrier between the woodland edge, which is roughly the approximation of the 25-foot no disturbance line, a native planting border as well, which would be a mix of ornamental shrubs, perennials, and ground cover. Again, all native and appropriate for a woodland wetland. Mr. Cellini initiated the project back in February of 2017 by meeting with Heidi Gaffney, formerly with the town conservation department. He, from the beginning, wanted to make sure that he was working with the wetlands in mind. Heidi met with him on site, placed some some pink flags using a soil logger to approximate the location of the wetlands. Noted that the existing conditions plan, which was provided by Heidi in February of 2017, she noted that she thinks that the wetlands are in the same location as it was then. This fall, I met with Jennifer Hughes on site to discuss the project. We've also worked back and forth on some of the design details, and we would propose that the existing wetland flags remain on site and be confirmed by Jennifer in the field prior to any construction beginning. All wall and hardscape lines layout would be pulled from the confirmed wetland flags. In addition, we propose using filters. I'm going to go to this one now. There is some existing asphalt that is also going to be removed on site. It's figure 2 that was attached with the narrative. If you look at the as-built plan, there was a driveway extension and some asphalt paving that was laid by a previous property owner. We propose removing that. It is about 500 square feet, and we're balancing that with the addition of the proposed patio. Note that the patio will be on a fully permeable base, and we're removing existing impervious surface. Some of that was within the 25-foot no disturbance buffer. No, excuse me, the 50-foot no-build buffer. We are proposing to use a filter sock along the limits of disturbance. It will go in before any demolition happens and remain in place until the lawn has reestablished to make sure that erosion will not be an issue. Happy to answer any questions that you may have.
I like your plan, it's a very nice design. I only disagree on one thing. I think I'd like to see your reconfigured walls be contiguous. I don't like the gap. Other than that, it's a very nice plan, very approvable.
Can I offer a suggestion to see if it would be palatable? There's a current placard that's mounted on an existing tree that would remain. We also propose putting the 25-foot no disturbance placards on the corners of the wall that are closest to the 25-foot buffer.
Yeah.
And we could also put landscape boulders that were marking that in between in the planting bed, if that would work.
What we look for is, we're not trying to redesign projects.
No.
What we look for is, we look for a permanent barrier to delineate the 25 and protect the 25.
Okay.
To protect, no disturb, and a contiguous wall will accomplish that mission where a sectioned wall will not. That's really the reason for it. We look for that protection at the 25.
Would you be opposed to having the contiguous wall be pulled back a little? There's a couple spots where it's a little closer to the house than the wetlands, the 25-foot line would be, just to potentially maximize the backyard lawn space?
If you can keep the wall out of the 25,
Okay,
you can reconfigure it any way you
Okay.
want. We would just be looking for a
Contiguous, okay.
the barrier. So you could get more yard space that way.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. And that would work for both of us.
okay,
That's my only comment on it. Otherwise, I like the plan very much.
thank you.
All set, Mr. Chairman.
I'm in agreement with Mr. Manzi. The section is completely out of 25, so you don't have to put anything there. Where it jogs behind the house, you wouldn't have to put a wall there anyways, you could leave the shrubs there. You could just turn that wall and turn the other wall so it runs parallel to the 25, and then just fill in the two spots. That corner to the left, my left, you wouldn't have to touch because it's completely out of the 25. We would like, is there a tree line there?
There is a tree line.
All right, so
There's a woodland edge.
I would definitely placard that section. It's not that, unless you want to put the wall, it's up to you. But the wall, I agree with Mr. Manzi that the wall should be the whole, along the 25, along the property line.
It could be closer to the house though, too, right, if that's okay?
The closer the better.
Yeah, there,
Because one thing I don't like about the way it is right now is it's not really, it kind of follows the 25-foot line in some spots, but then on this side of the building, it's closer to the house than it needs to be. And on the left side, it's further back than I want it, so I kind of want to just like, go like this,
he wants it
straighten it
more
out a little
parallel to
bit,
the house.
just for the way it
More
looks.
For
parallel
aesthetics.
to the house.
So it might be kind of like, parallel to the house, come up in one section and be parallel again, but I'll probably end up pulling more away from, making the wall closer to the house than it really
Further
is.
Certainly, that's,
As long as I can straighten out that corner on the right
Better
there.
for us.
that
'cause
makes it easier, sure.
It makes it easier, but I would placard that area that doesn't require a wall. And put, if there's a tree line there, on the 25, you said?
There's an existing tree line that's kind of right behind where you're seeing.
Maybe two
the
placards?
pointing head. Okay, there's one existing.
There
that's-
is one there?
Uh-huh, there
Yeah,
is.
the biggest tree there, yeah.
The biggest tree, kind of in the middle, wouldn't you say?
It's kind of close to the corner on this side of the house, like straight back.
Yeah, so either side of the property line.
Okay.
Doesn't require with the wall, it's just that, connect the two sections. And continue that first section to the property line. It's not a hell of a lot.
Yeah, they're just looking for a continuous wall.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I understand.
If you want, come up here, I can show you.
I don't think they even, I mean, and even if you wanted it to still be parallel to the
They can read
house
it, they can
and
read it.
jog perpendicular, I think that's fine, as long as it's a continuous
Yeah, no, I get it.
wall, right?
I
Right.
get why you want that.
I mean, if you want to give us more land, that's fine, because you're in the 25-50. So anything you give us is a bonus for us.
It's actually a bonus for you. We just protect the area.
Right.
Well, it's like that corner on the right is like, it really should go back like 2 or 3 feet, but then I kind of want it to be more straighter, which means that whole left side will come up a little bit. So it'll be,
You can do that, you know what,
yeah.
Yep.
yeah, okay, so, yeah.
Whatever works. All right, I have no more questions, Deb.
Okay, you proposed a silt sock. We would prefer to see a compost or a bark mulch sock instead, if that was okay.
Okay.
And that's all I have.
Doug? Any questions, Doug?
Yeah.
No. Motion? We don't have, we condition the wall, right?
This is an RDA. We don't issue an order of
Oh,
conditions.
that's right.
I think that you'd have to give us the revised, give us the revisions,
Okay.
unless you're not, yeah, I think you'd have to give us the revisions on the wall for us to have a record drawing. If we close it now, we can't take the new information.
Okay.
When did you want to start the work?
Well, this
You have to wait for the snow.
This weather has put a
Yeah.
little bit of a damper
So
on
we
it.
won't be hurting you if you had to come back in 2 weeks with the
No.
revised drawing. All right, if you
No,
don't
but
mind
2 feet
doing
of
that,
snow,
that'll make
okay.
it cleaner for us. We'll have a record drawing
Okay.
that reflects our discussion
For
here.
you.
Yeah.
And that'll give you a chance to think about it a little more and just
Yeah.
tweak it, get it the way you
Yep.
want it.
And Jen will be back anyways, right?
And we'll have no trouble,
Maybe she
we'll have no
could
trouble
have-
closing
Okay.
it in 2 weeks.
Great.
Decision already written up.
The snow won't be melted by then anyway.
All right, that'll
I
be
hope
good.
soon after, but,
We might have the decision already written up for the next meeting,
okay,
so
great,
we don't mess you up.
great, I
But
appreciate it.
it's, you know, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel.
No.
I think it'll look better for both of us if we have a
Move-
continuous one.
Move to continue till the next meeting.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? And that's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Next one is 242-1719 Mass Ave.
242,
Wait, should I do the continuance first?
Yes.
All right, the first one is 242-1721. Request to continue to another date.
that's 562 Boxer Street, in case there's any abutters here for 562, that's going to continue to the next meeting.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's unanimous.
And for the record, nobody answered on that one. Next one, Mr. Chairman, would be 242-1627.
No, 242-1719 Mass Ave.
No, I meant for the next continuance.
Oh, we're gonna do all of them now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
242-1627, Mr. Chairman, is requesting to continue for 2 weeks.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's
And
unanimous.
that's all we have for,
That's all we have.
yes, sir.
Okay, now we'll try Mass Ave.
242-1719.
Before we start, from the last meeting, one of the abutters had a question about the trees. The trees are non-jurisdictional on the property for us. What you're dealing with Mass Highway is gonna be after or the selectmen are planning. So, if we approve this project, it's strictly stormwater. The trees that you're gonna have,
Even though they're on conservation land, they're within the 100 feet. And they are included in the taking. So supposedly 49 trees
Wait.
are being taken, but 40 of them,
Hold on one second.
Oh, I'm
Just
sorry.
hold on one second. We have to, remember last time, we have to do this kind of like in a clockwise manner here.
okay.
Mr.
You were
Chairman,
talking to me, so I was.
I know, and we're just anxious to, I recommend letting the state go first.
Yeah.
And then we can have the butters to come.
okay, that's fine. All right, go ahead.
Hi, Kristen Hayden. I'm here representing Mass DOT. I work for CLD Fuss and O'Neill, and with me tonight I have Larry Cash, the project manager for Mass DOT. At the last meeting 2 weeks ago, we met, and I believe the conditions that you asked us to modify on the plans we've met at this point. We have labeled all of the trees on 591 Mass Ave that are going to be removed with the demolition of the building. We have labeled the driveway as to be removed and seeded and loamed, and we provided the tree report that was completed for the project. The project never went before the Board of Selectmen for the tree removals because it was found that there were less than 5 public living shade trees that were going to be disturbed by the project. There were only 3 that were living that were going to be disturbed by the project. So we never went before the Board of Selectmen to discuss it.
Basically, something we requested, you gave us.
Correct.
Okay. And the abutter's shaking her head. If you want to speak, please come up to the podium, please.
So, is that everything? You have everything? Have you presented everything? Is there more you wanted to tell us before we take about comments?
There is. I mean, I can discuss more. I think there was a different interpretation of what the requests were at the end of last week's meeting, or 2 weeks ago meeting. I know that Ms. Laro wanted us to identify all the trees on her property. It was my understanding that that was determined to be a right-of-way concern with Mass DOT, and it was not a concern for the Conservation Commission, and you were more concerned with the trees within the 25-foot buffer. So we did show that 25-foot buffer on the plans, and her property is well outside the limits of that 25-foot buffer. And the trees on Ms. Lauer's property will be dealt with through the right-of-way process. An appraiser does come out and visit her property to ensure that she is compensated properly for the trees on her property. It is not based solely on our plans. Our plans show a tree line. They do not identify necessarily every single tree on her property, though.
I'm going to agree with Mass Highway. I've seen the plan, I've seen multiple plans. The trees that are jurisdictional, we know which ones they are. The ones that are not jurisdictional are part of this Mass Highway negotiation between the homeowner and the...
So can I just ask one question? Sure. So just to, the abutter's concern is the amount of trees on the property that are being removed. Mm-hmm. And I assume, but I don't know this for a fact, but I'm guessing there must be some type of compensation package in between, somewhere in between.
Correct.
So, and I'm only speculating that because I've had no direct conversation with the abutter or with you. Mm-hmm. So that appears to be, from where I sit here, that appears to be the contentious issue, I think.
Correct.
Okay. I just wanted to be sure I had it right. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Jim.
Oh, do you want to come up? Good. One second, let's
Yes,
let it...
well then,
You have to come up to the podium, please.
Sorry.
And I thank you in advance. I know it's a pain, but it's the best
What
way
are you
we
doing,
can.
taking the trees down by yourself?
We have to preserve the record here. Just tell us your name, address, and then,
I'm Karen Lauro at 591 Massachusetts Avenue.
thank you.
And my understanding was within 100 feet of the conservation area, that was the boundary area, and that line, it goes in front of my house. So the trees that are within that 100-foot line were to be considered part of the trees being taken on conservation land. Now, possibly that's not true, but they told me to put in my handicap ramp, I'm going to have to go to the Conservation Department because I have to pull out my whole driveway and put impervious, not impervious, penetratable driveway, so I'll be able to put on a handicap ramp because of the fact that they've taken so much of my property that I can't put in a handicap ramp without removing some hardscape. So I was told I had to go, I was told by John, the town engineer, John B., that, and he sent the email to Jennifer, and Jennifer got back to me and said, yes, you have to come to us. And there was a very specific set of things I had to do with the driveway.
Pardon me, but that's not what's in front of us now, right?
No. But
Okay, so
what I'm
we got-
trying
we-
to say is either I'm within the 100 feet and have to come to you when things are done, or I'm not within the 100 feet.
The answer is yes on both, but there are different degrees of what we require within that 100 feet. From 100 to 50 is a different standard, from 50 to 25 is a different standard, and from the 25 in is a different standard again. And as you've seen, some of the projects before us tonight have been requests for determination, and some have been notices of intent. That's based upon the location of where the project sits within that 100-foot jurisdictional area and the level of work being asked for. So trees at the outer edge of the 100-foot we may not require any permitting for trees that, as we would at the 25.
Okay, these trees would run from the 100-foot to the 50-foot.
So it's
Yeah.
possible if a homeowner came before us, we may not require any special permitting being done if it's not impacting the no-build or the no-disturbance zone. It's
Okay.
a discretionary process that we have that comes under both the bylaw and the state act. And that's, you probably just saw an example of that in the first two people that were here before you. Everything gets treated a little bit differently depending upon where it is and what's proposed.
Okay, right,
So-
I was,
So I'm just trying to tell you that tree removal at 100 feet is not something we may, but we may not.
well, I'm talking about 50-foot. I
Yeah.
mean, it's
We're
the,
Our concern with this is from 50 to 25.
yeah, it might even be closer than the 50-foot.
But it sounds like, according to what that Mr. Chairman just told me, it sounds like the process is now with Mass Highway, and what was the division that was accessing the trees that you talked about? The right-of-way?
The right-of-way division, the appraiser that comes out to the property.
So that sounds like that's where this is.
That's what you're gonna deal with.
And-
Right, no, I've been dealing with them so far.
So I think
So
that's where this is. I think that, you know,
And then the other statement that Christian made, that the updated plans show the removal of the driveway and turnaround.
Yeah.
I've reviewed those plans, and I can see no delineation that that's being removed. So it very clearly says demolish the garage. It very clearly says demolish the house, but there is nothing on there, on the ones that are in the agenda for today. So if you go to the folder,
Okay, so, hold on, I'm trying to speed this up, because
Okay,
we have a
yeah.
tight, we have a
Right.
member here that has to go to another meeting, so.
right, I was, she was saying
no, you
something,
can-
and I was saying that,
Yeah, I'm gonna ask her
neither-
directly, I'm gonna be like a referee here.
okay,
Is that information contained in the revised plans here tonight?
It is. On notice of intent plan number 6, it says remove driveway pavement, loam and seed. And
Okay,
there's a
so-
leader pointing to the driveway.
So apparently it is in the revised plans that are in
okay, it's
front of us tonight.
not on page 8 where that home is shown.
When I
So what
submitted
page
the-
is it on?
It's on page notice of intent plan 6. And when I sent the plans in to the board, I clarified that that was
Those
the
are
plan.
Those are one of the things we asked for. We asked for the arborist report and the
Next page.
excavation of the driveway, and
So-
they supplied
So it
both.
sounds like it's in there.
It is.
All right, so, next question at all?
It's on the top of the page. It's cut off, just so you can see it.
But you have it there.
Yes, I have it here and it's on the
All
screen.
right, you
as
have
well.
it there. So
Yes.
that copies of that are available to the
Yes,
abutters.
yes.
They're on file at our office.
Okay, it's not on the same page as the house and and it's not on the same page as the house and the garage.
Okay, but it's in there somewhere.
It's in it. It's in it.
Apparently,
It
I
is.
didn't see it.
Okay, what else can I help you with?
It's in-
Those two cover that. If you're saying those are not on the conservation purview,
Yeah, that's, you know, I wish I could tell you they were, but
Okay.
I can tell you they're not.
okay.
All right,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank
Another abutter? Yes, ma'am, would you? I know you spoke last time, but you have to do it all over again as if we don't know you.
That's no problem.
All right,
My
thank
name's
you.
Karen Ferris. I live at 1 Fernview Ave.
Thank you.
My concern is the water. I took a picture, Andy, who works for the property management company, took some pictures of our typical water problems that we have. The brook that's behind my building, I took a picture the other day. That brook was up to the top. I didn't have a printer at home, but if you'd like to see.
Sure, do you have
Was that
a
after the
copy you
first-
can
was
give?
that after the first northeaster?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, that's why it's so high.
But so we, but I have seen it with regular rainstorms come up that high.
We acknowledge that stream runs high. We acknowledge that. We even acknowledge that stream will go over the banks. That's a pre, that's,
I'll go back to the-
that is a pre-existing condition that we do acknowledge.
Our engineer would actually like to speak to their engineer because of the other water issues that we have on the property. He did mention he would like to see the plans a little bit more, talk to them, just because of the continued water problem.
Is your engineer here tonight?
No, he couldn't make it.
Well, even if we vote in favor of the project, we have 21 days to appeal. And that should give him plenty of time to meet with you and review the plan. Because we seem like we seem to be going around and
No,
around.
I understand.
And nothing seems to be getting accomplished. Nobody's winning here. Everybody, all we're doing is just proposing the inevitable.
Let's see if there's any questions.
Any questions, Doug?
No questions.
Doug? No questions. All right, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other abutters? Okay, so two abutters. Do you have any closing remarks you want to give us?
I'm going to follow up with the board.
The only follow-up we have is that we're going to be following up with the Board of Selectmen on April 9th to present the
And you're gonna
project
meet,
to them.
and
So
your estimator's gonna meet with her about the trees, which are not in the extra trees.
So you're saying the right-of-way representative is meeting with the abutters with respect to the trees?
Mm-hmm.
And you are in front of the Board of Selectmen on what date?
April 9th.
April 9th? Yes, ma'am.
Excuse me, I thought you said the appraiser will look at the trees, but they'll only look at the trees that are on the plan.
No,
No.
no. Go ahead.
No, that's one of the things that I want to clarify is, on the plans,
The only time that the individual tree basis would really be looked at is the trees that are impacted on the property. So the appraiser will come out, they'll establish where the property line is, and if needed, if a surveyor has to come out and stake that, then if that's necessary, then that's fine. Then, that's on an individual basis. Each tree will be looked at. Sometimes they look at them individually, sometimes they look at them as a whole. It's really not for Kristen or myself to really try and suggest how an appraiser is going to appraise, the value there. So that's their specialty, that's what they are trained to do, and so.
Okay. I agree, but the thing of it is that if you're gonna have the appraiser come out, I'd like the butter to be there,
oh, absolutely.
so they can be in harmony on what trees are to be removed, what trees are gonna be bought, or however you're gonna do it. But aside from the stormwater management stormwater management plan that's been seen before us many times, I don't see any reason for us not to vote in favor. So, that's my recommendation as a chairman. What the commission does is up to them. Because we've had 3 meetings that we were talking about trees that are non-jurisdictional. I don't think they are. Or if they are, they don't account, they're not impacting this project. The brook, as Mr. Manzi has said before, is an issue, but it's been an issue from the get-go. Your engineer wants to meet with the state engineer, that's fine. I don't think you have a problem with that, do you? All right. So, if there are any more questions, I move the motion that we, on this project.
No further information, because what we're going to do is we're going to close this. And once we close it, we're in the 21-day period for the decision to be rendered, and no new information can come in. So if there's nothing else,
Nothing else?
I'll move that we close and issue in 21 days.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That's unanimous. You're all set.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next one is, I'm going to leave this to my assistant chairman, Mr. Manzi, 25 Hollow Tree Lane.
Okay. I don't see anybody here.
There's nobody here.
Let me, we'll call. Is anybody present from 25 Hollow Tree Lane? Anyone answer? So for the record, no one answers. So this matter, for the record, Merrill, this matter involves multiple properties that have all received enforcement orders mandating filing and/or restoration. At the last meeting, the commission heard testimony that it was recommended that these enforcement orders be continued until the first meeting in June to assess the restoration progress. I see no reason tonight, we've received no information in the last 2 weeks to suggest that we shouldn't follow that advice. And as such, I would move that we continue all the enforcement orders with respect to Hollow Tree Lane until the first meeting in June. And Winter Street, Hollow Tree Lane, Winter Street, and
Two on Hollow Tree and one on Winter.
so all of those properties. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion from the commission? Any questions or comments from the commission? There being none, all those in favor of this continuance signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that would be unanimous.
And all we have left is a PCOC request, 242-236 for 70 Pine Tree.
Merrill, what can you tell us about this project?
So, this is an old OOC, and it was for the utilities and the main road itself. This lot was actually exempted on the OOC, and it was required that they do their own filing if any work was done on that lot. They did their own and received a COC for that. So Jen recommends granting the PCOC.
No, let me just ask you real quick. I'm sure you have it, but I just want, the record needs to be clear. You have the documentation from the applicants that did occur?
I did.
Okay, thank you. I'm all set.
Deb?
No questions.
Doug? Questions? Motion?
I move that we grant the PCOC request for Lot 770 Pine Ridge Road.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous. All we have left is the
So,
decision.
we have a decision here?
Yes.
Mass Ave.
So, the decision is on 242-1719, Mr. Chairman. Merrill, do you have any recommendations or any comments that we should be aware of with respect? I see the highlighted areas.
Yes.
Beyond the highlighted areas, is there anything that we need to?
Jen wanted to note that the information on requesting to apply for the COCs for the remaining open orders, she's changing that language a little to read that they shall request COCs prior to construction, just to give a little more time in getting that documents together.
So you're talking about the open
The
orders?
open OOCs currently, yes.
Okay.
Any questions, Al?
I have no questions, Mr. Chairman.
No questions. Doug? No questions. And just quick question. To close those orders is in here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It
I'm all
is.
set. Motion?
I move that we issue the order of conditions for 242-1719 as drafted.
Second.
All those in agreement? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous.
All set, brother?
Could you get the paperwork?